And welcome back to another episode of the Wolves Only podcast powered by JWFIT. Listen, guys, if you've been watching this and you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And if this is your first time watching this, click subscribe for us, guys. We got a lot of great stories, a lot of great people on this show, and we want to get this message out there and get these people's stories out there and their what they're trying to do to help individuals, maybe just like yourself. So click subscribe, do all the extra things, the comments, the likes, all that good stuff, and really help us out. We'd appreciate that. Jake,
what is up?
So Scotty had some family arrangements, so we're settling for Jake today. And you know what, though? This is how it started. It was with me and Jake. And then Scotty expressed interest in being a host, and, you know, president gets the rights. But I like having Jake on here. And normally I rip on you right now. So we're not doing it that route. But Jake, you're getting ready for a bodybuilding show.
I am, man. Physique, third one. Should be fun.
All right. How you feeling on that?
I actually feel good, man. I was trying to talk myself out of it. As you know, I was going through some issues a couple months ago, and a lot of just gut health stuff that I had to push through, but I've got a good team behind me, including yourself, Scotty, speaking of, Jonathan, over at everybody, man. And just one day at a time, and stopped making excuses and started getting after work, and I'm ready to go, man. I'm in good shape. I've got my energy, and I got a good team coming out to Vegas, so I'm pumped.
100%. We're stoked for Vegas, and your wife's doing the show with you.
Yeah, dude. That's like I said, I tried to get out of it, and once she said she was locked in, you know, I got to support my wife and do what it takes, and, you know, got to get on stage and make it happen no matter what, no excuses, and that's what we're all about. So,
and that's exactly right. Now, I saw you guys both today.
Yes.
And honestly, it looks like your wife's been a little more disciplined.
She has. 100%.
What do you have to say about that? Like, she looks a lot better than you.
That's a compliment. I'll take that. I'm a very lucky man, Justin. You know what I mean?
Okay. But I guess what I'm really saying is, like, let's step it up. You know, we got a month. We got a little over a month until that show, and you know, I need you bringing home the gold. If you're repping JWFIT, like, or JWX or whatever, and you take like a silver or you don't even place, bro, you're fucking fired. Wow. Straight Donald Trump style. You fired.
No pressure.
You're fired. I don't even know how to do a Donald Trump impression.
Hey,
but you're fired.
I say it all the time, man. I'm gonna be 42. I'm gonna be 42 this month. I'm the oldest out of you cats, and you know what? Just to get up on that stage is an accomplishment. Most 42-year-olds my age have beer bellies. Their wives hate them, and they don't have an opportunity to do the things that we do here at JWX. So
we'll get into that in just a second. But speaking of accomplishments,
great intro.
We have Mr. Kasey Hinchman. Kasey, what's up, dude?
Justin, what is going on? Jake, what's happening? Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, dude.
This is cool. You know, I out of all of our coaches, I talk to Kasey probably the most, and I love it. And I you know, he always texts me, and I'm like, fuck it, I'm just going to call him because I love his energy. I love his attitude. Sometimes, like, he's calling me for advice or for like knowledge on something, or he's texting me, and I'm like, yeah, but I always learn when I talk to Kasey.
Yeah, let's keep it real. You want that energy fix.
I need that energy fix. And it's so funny because I am a big, firm believer in when one person teaches, two people learn. And it's just always that way with you, man.
It's always that way with you, you know?
And dude, and it's been that way ever since you've come on to our program. And obviously you came from another mentorship program, and we're not going to discuss that person, but we will discuss, you know, where you were at. And then when you came on with us, we've seen some really incredible success. And the biggest thing was, and what we keep hearing, and the common trend is, you challenged me to hold myself to a higher value.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, I think that, you know, a lot of times people, not just in the world of, you know, coaching or mentorships, but also with regards to, you know, business and life in general, we sell ourselves short. We undervalue ourselves. You know, it's the experience that we have after 3 or 4 decades on this planet. It's just everyone has a wheelhouse. Everyone has zones of expertise. And I think that at a certain point, you got to just kind of lean into who you are and really awaken to who it is that you are. It's so easy to kind of live in the weak, disempowering narratives or just outright false narratives that are so like prevalent in our society. It's just it's so easy to become complacent in our own lives. And when you allow yourself to just see, you allow yourself to believe what's possible. And it's interesting because everything's on all human behavior, I say, it exists on a spectrum, right? Like we all participate in kind of any form of behavior or have to some degree. So it's, you know what I mean? So it's like, where are you on the scale? And so it's easy, for example, for achievers to believe. I know that throughout my life, I'm like, oh, look what I've done, or look at this thing that I did, or I achieved something, or attaining financial freedom, or whatever it is. And it's so easy to then be like, oh, okay, that like now I'm done, or I graduated. Right. And so to answer your question a little more directly, I think just reminding, there's that quote, it's like, there's no teacher that can teach anything new. They can only help us to remember what it is that we already know. And I think that you did a great job of that. And the examples that are available, within JWX, as far as high ticket, what people are able to charge, and more importantly, the value. It's like the reminder you're always saying, it's like the value that you deliver. It's like we're selling results, right? Not a program. So,
right. Now, your background is in real estate.
Yes, sir.
That's awesome. And we have a number of guys that are real estate guys, but there's obviously two in our program that really like stand out, and that's yourself and that's Randy. And we actually filmed with Randy on Wednesday, and we had a really good time, but we didn't get too far into real estate. And I don't know that I want to get too far into real estate with this. I want to really touch on your book. I want to really touch on your coaching program, but has your entire career been in real estate, or most people I know kind of came into real estate later on, like after they were sick of working a normal situation.
Oh, you want to go back? I love it. So I've been in real estate for about 20 years, just over 20 years at this point. And prior to that, I've kind of always been self-employed. So there's a lot of things I did over the years. I was a personal trainer, first certified as a personal trainer when I was 19, I guess, in my second year of college. So I've always been I've always coached people, even young, when I was in athletics, just growing up, athletics, skateboarding, surfing, all that kind of stuff. I was always often more a better coach than I was a better effective teacher. Not like a know-it-all or somebody who tells other people how to do things, but somebody who could effectively bring the talent out of other people, as opposed to being the one that was the best at that sport or at every activity. And I picked up on that early on and carried that through to, personal training. And there's a few different things growing up. When I was really young, I washed cars. But personal training was a great business as far as, leading into or preparing me for real estate, service business in general, getting results for people, connecting with people on that level. And I spent some brief time in the military, in the U.S. Army Ranger program. I only had a 2-year commitment. For that program, I was never deployed, but it was quite a bit of intense training, and then a lot of stuff in between, and definitely some learning experiences and some mistakes made. Often we learn more from our mistakes than we do from the things that we do.
You're damn right.
Correctly. You probably know some people like that, but
oh yeah. I think all three of us know someone like that.
Yeah. So, sometimes I take a little while to learn. Like sometimes I'm a slow learner, but once I learn something, I tend to retain it better than most. So
yeah, I don't think it. I mean, people like come to me and they're like, "Well, I'm a fast learner." Anyone that's ever said that they're a fast learner, like promotes that as like puffs their chest and says it like that,
yeah,
has usually been a fast disappointment.
Yeah.
Like people that think that they're telling you, it's always the people that think that they're telling you something that you want to hear. And with me, and Jake will tell you this right away, like Jake comes to me and he's like, he's stoked about something. I got great news. And I turn it like right around and I'm like, but what about this?
Yeah.
And
right.
Every time.
And it's like to me, I'm a details person, and I've had that beat in my head since I was like young in my career as a young adult. Was like the details matter.
Yeah.
You may think like what you're putting all your eggs in the basket. That's the most important, but you're letting all these little like things of minute importance kind of fall by the wayside. But those things stack up and they end up being just as important as the big thing that you're focused on.
So
and it's like when people come up to me and they flaunt numbers or they flaunt skill sets that they have, I find out that like they've put all of their energy into promoting their fast learning capabilities. But when it comes to retention, they're dog shit. Or when it comes to actual like putting that to use, like, yeah, you learned it, but let me see you do it.
Hey, the details matter. And, I think that, well, I was going to ask you too, real quick, Jake, what's your competing weight?
It's just men's physique. So there's no actual weight class. So it's masters. So I'm up against,
awesome.
I mean, I'm up against some big, like heavy hitters, dude. We're talking the big boys.
Masters.
And it's in Vegas too. So
it's a very big show.
That's the real deal, dude.
I mean, I told myself after last one, I wasn't ever going to compete again just because it's dedicated. It's a full-time sport. And I'm not trying to take it lightly by any means. These guys do it professionally and I get up there and I do it more of like a mindset, like just kind of put myself through that discipline and kind of reel it back in every now and then, because at the end of the day, it's all about fitness for me. But, being with JWX now, I've kind of put my business on the side and I focus mainly on our brand and make our business better and bigger and just learn, like Justin just said. I mean, that's what separates a good leader from a great leader. And Justin, every time I used to come to him with things, it was like I had to sit there and I'm like, I'd be so excited. And he would just give me that look. Now I have to like go in detail exactly what I know Justin wants, what we need, what's gonna benefit the brand and not myself right then to instant gratification. It's more after like before I hit that send button, I've got to like read it 3 times now, make sure the spelling's correct, make sure it's got a point, make sure there's a system to it. And then I deliver, and then I'll call him and back up that delivery with some sort of statement like this is why. So, but to answer your question, yeah, man, like I said, I go in there just to, I love doing different stuff. And that's what I loved about you, man. When you first came into this, not to go too far off topic, but you came in as a real estate agent. And I kind of was like, well, what are we going to do with this dude? And, I thought maybe you were just this suit and tie kind of dude. And once we started kind of peeling back the layers and talking to you, I mean, you seem like my older cousin surfer from the beach city that could have been on the movie North Shore. You had these skateboarding pictures and these surfing pictures, and that's really what separates you in the industry. And I think that's why you've done so well. And I'm sure we'll touch more base on that, but just working with you and making your ads and doing some of your graphics, I'm like, all right, this dude's another breed. You come from many, many things, and that's what's cool, dude. So I admire
I really appreciate that, and those things that we go through that it's like the darker they are, as you guys know, it's like the deeper the struggle, the deeper your struggle, right? It's like the more success, they're directly proportionate, and it's our ability to truly help other people with whatever they're going through has to do with the things that we've gone through. And once we're aware of that, it's like that concept that like everything we want's on the other side of what the pain or the fear that we have, the thing that we're resisting often, and I tell people I've really uncovered this for myself on another level recently. It's like it's not the difficulty of the task or whatever, like the person we're resisting calling or the ditch you got to dig or whatever it is that you're dreading or that you're resisting. It's like our resistance to it. Cause it's, the only difference between work and play is the meaning that we tie to it, period. That is it.
Sure.
And it's like,
I like that.
I mean, you're still working, but when you have you guys know, when you have a meaning behind it, people are like, how do you not sleep? How do you not sleep? Because I don't sleep. I mean, I film my clock. For a while I was filming the clock on both ends, but I got tired of doing that. But it's like, I just don't really, but you're passionate about what it is that you do and there's deeper meaning. And, Justin, just jumping back on what you were saying, like when you talk with Jake, this is the thing that people don't understand. It's like, once you start to master that energy, because a lot of this life is just about like manipulation of energy, in all of its forms. And it's like, once you start to conceptualize that and that the power lies in the problem, that's when you develop the mentality. Because I guarantee that Jake had no negative feelings or response when Justin's like, hey, let's get on it right now. Or when you saw you're like, hey, she was more on it. Like, you got a month, let's get serious, because it's not coming from a place of negativity. It's just the reality of it. It's like, because I love you and this is what you want.
Well, right.
This is what it's going to take.
And I know go ahead.
Let's just say what it is, dude. Like, I've had plenty of bosses over the years and I've worked for myself for many. And that's the difference with this company, man, is like, although Justin, he's my leader, he's my mentor, I've got a few years on him, but looking back, it's not where he's barking orders or giving me deadlines. Like, that's what Steve's for, but it's more like Justin, he analyzes the issue. He lets me know what needs to be done. We know the task, and let's be real. This is the best job in the world, man. We get to help hundreds and thousands of clients around the world become the best versions of themselves. And that's what Justin did for me. He saw something in me. He raised me up. He didn't just tell me what to do. He showed me how to do it. And he said, follow the leader. And he's
that's what leadership is. Being a boss. I have no desire to be a boss. I've never once even called anybody like my employee. I've not like we're all partners to me in this, even though I own everything. We all
I get free clothes.
yeah, you get some free swag. Yeah. But you know, I never want to be a boss. I want to be a leader, and that was always my goal in this, was to be a leader, because that's what I was led by. I wasn't led by a boss. I was led by a leader, and that was my main mentor in my adult life. That was always like leadership. No one ever looked at him like that, but you knew when he wanted to get something done, it was like it just all he had to say it. And I know that with you, Jake, you know, I remember early on you were like going to Steve and you're like, God damn, Justin's expectations are fucking crazy. And Steve's like, yep, get used to it. But the more reps we took, the more the outcomes got better and better and better. And your situation got better and better and better. And it kind of, the expectations, they level out eventually, because your skill set goes up and your work ethic goes up and everything else increases in your life. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, now I understand those expectations.
Yeah.
Right. And then the concept of this, and you know this about me, I fucking hate doing today's work tomorrow.
Woo.
I hate doing today's work tomorrow, because that means that I'm earning yesterday's bread.
And that's something that's hard to say in the online community, is because, like, quite frankly, we can put anything off until fucking tomorrow in our boxers. It doesn't matter. So yeah, in Kasey, it's crazy, man, because there's never been a time where I'll get a phone call from Justin or a text. I'm like, oh fuck, what does this dude want? Oh fuck, what did I do wrong? There's been a couple panics, like, oh shit, did I forget something? But then it's just like, he's not calling to bitch me out, or like, you know, Jake, what happened to this? There's been a few times with Steve and I with just certain things, but that was our own fault, you know, it needed to be said. But there's never been a time where we're on like our morning Zoom with the leadership and Justin gets on, it's like, shut up guys, like, fuck, boss is here. It's literally like, you know what I mean? And that's
well, enough about me, more about Kasey. This is Kasey's show.
Justin. You're awesome, man. Hey, one more thing I got to say. Can I say one more thing about you?
Well, let's, please.
Hey, this is for you, Jake. All you guys. Hey, also check it out. I was just thinking about this morning, you know, just real quick. It's crazy. It's crazy because think of this. I was thinking back to like a decade ago. I've had so many different coaches. I've been blessed because I've truly had some great coaches and plenty that were not, but I've had a few that changed my business, changed my life forever. That's how I know what's up. And so like, so that being said, it's like, you have to have that standard. And I was thinking, not even that, the fact that most people, you can't even share your wins with. So with a good coach to start with, one of the first things I realized I was paying for was somebody that could legitimately share wins in my life. I made this much. I closed this deal. I did this. I conquered. And they're just like, that's awesome. And I started to realize months into this one coaching relationship a decade ago, I was like, whoa, that wasn't the only thing. I wasn't just sharing wins, but that was a part of the call. And I was like, who can I even do that with? And I have people who love me. I have people who care about me. I know a lot of people. I have a lot of friends. Who can I share 7-figure things and dreams and achievements and becoming financially, whatever it is, it doesn't even matter what it is, just things. And especially when it's beyond what the norm is. And it's like, what I'm trying to get to is, dude, what you're doing. So that's one level, right? To even be a friend that can share in those wins legitimately, it's become, you're starting to talk about rare air. And then when you go into the world of being like, you guys kill it, like Justin, you just crush it. You could not do anything at this point, or you could do whatever you want. And it's like, you choose to even take a step back in some cases, or regardless of any of the financial aspects or anything, you choose to do something that is completely like, doesn't have to do with you, even though it's yours and like your vision and all these different things, like it's way beyond you, you know? And that's kind of what we're all stepping into. And it's a really big deal. Like the way that you're allowing, like, not to get all melodramatic, but like light to spread, you know what I'm saying? Like to allow
Thank you.
people just to see themselves. It's a big fucking deal, dude. And I just commend you for, for doing it and stepping into
I think we can get into this actually. This is an interesting topic. I love the concept of sharing wins, and people, and I know this, and I know that people get this way where like they look in our wins thread and they see people that are like, just close another $6,000 a month deal, or, oh, just hit this number, just hit this number. And there's going to be, with 200 people in that thread, there's going to be the people that are like, oh, he's bragging, right? Oh, he's bragging. Or they're going to get self-conscious about somebody else's win, thinking that they're not doing enough. Well, first of all, you're not doing enough, right? If you're not there, then you better do more. But the biggest thing is that this idea of like humility. Okay. I think that humility is misconstrued. I think that, honestly, the people that are like, oh, hey man, great win, you really did it. Oh, it's no big deal. It's no big deal. Honestly, I think that's more arrogant than saying thank you. I worked really hard.
Fuck yeah.
You're right. It was a big deal. And it's like it goes as like big of a slight as like the people who say it must be nice, and everybody knows that's like my biggest pet peeve. And when people say that it must be nice, like, yeah, it is fucking nice. It's really nice. You should try it out sometime. But that whole idea of like, this, I don't, it's like this, like,
Scarcity
I don't want to
mentality.
say passive aggressive, but like passive remark of like, and thinking that that's humility. That's not humility.
I know. And once you're aware of the concept, this is what's crazy, is like, just like the concept when Jake, you're like, hey, let's get on it, or, whatever, because we all understand great, let's celebrate the wins, but it's all about leaning into like where those weaknesses are, because right there is how we get that relief, right? It's uncomfortable. Right. Let's have that conversation. Let's get out of the way, because that's where the resolution is. Let's not let it like fester or whatever, right? It gets harder to make that call. Who hasn't procrastinated on making that call, and just gets like harder and harder. And so it's just like, but a lot of that comes back to really like, I remember reading about like the concept of a growth or fixed mindset. And I initially thought like a lot of things that people say, coaches say, teachers say, you're like, this is just a thing that they say. Like, I didn't think it was real. Dude, that's real. And there's a spectrum, like everything, there's a spectrum of behavior, of human behavior, but it's like you either have a growth mindset or a fixed mindset, sometimes in one area, not another, whatever. But like that concept of like what's possible, because it's just scarcity to be like, oh, you can have, because it's based like you can have it and I can't. Like if you win, I must lose, all of that. And I've never, since I was a little kid, I've never really tended to think that way. I don't know why we're like all wired, differently, but I think that's what it is. But
yeah, I'm curious about that. You said like about the way we're wired in that situation, like having that, and I like the way you put it, that it's like some people think that because you won, I lost, right? Just because, and when it comes to growth mindset, or when it comes to any mindset or any level of, other than strict competition, just because there's a winner doesn't mean that there's a loser.
Yeah.
But why do people adopt that mindset of there has to be a loser? Is it just insecurity? Is it just rejection? Is it just inability?
I think it's just that concept of us being like hunter gatherers, throughout history, and being on such like a tribal, more like animalistic level throughout human history. It's like ingrained in our DNA, like, the fight or flight and all that. And it's like the concept that your brain the pain and pleasure, everything we do is to either to feel pleasure or to avoid pain. And you guys know that the need to avoid pain is way stronger, right? And it's like, that's a survival mechanism. I feel like what you're talking about maybe ties into that.
Yeah.
Jake, what do you think, bud?
I think that's pretty on point, dude. Like, I mean, I don't get too deep into these conversations, man. But yeah, I feel 100% what you just said. That definitely the pain.
Yeah.
But do you think a lot of people, like, Tim Grover talks a lot about the champion mindset, and but I guess I don't know that he's ever addressed the champion mindset. Does that champion mindset have more of a need to avoid pain, or more of a need to seek a positive outcome?
I thought, tell me if I'm wrong. I think it was winning that when I read it, wasn't Kobe's whole thing with like the extra workouts and being there was avoiding the pain or some kind of trauma he went through in his early years? I can't remember now.
I mean, so I gotta throw something out there, you guys. So like for me, and I love to tell people this, like as my brother was telling me recently, he's like, yes, Kasey, we're all painfully aware that you're financially free. So when I was 40, I'm 46 now, when I turned 42, I think it was, or 41, 2020, March of 2020, I think it was, I became financially free, which just meant that I was able to which took a lot of work and blood, sweat, and tears, but I was able to earn enough and get investments to a point where the passive income from those investments, covered or more than covered my lifestyle, whatever that number was at the time back in, 2020. And when I achieved that, I realized like a combination of things. It was like, first of all, I guess my main point is that when I really look at it, I had to think about it because it was such a dream, and I know the positives, and I've seen enough and experienced enough of like the good life to like have that. But really, when I look at it, it was like my first like really traumatic experience in my life, heartbreak, was like when I was 9 years old. My parents got divorced because they had been like true, like the real deal, like in love, and watching them go through that was really painful for me. It was okay because later on in life, way more painful things would happen, but that was a good start, So, but going through that, when I think about it, and then we got to a position initially when we got into real estate in like late 2003, 2004. We were in our 20s. When I look back, we were like babies, and we got into real estate and just hit the ground running, got into it like pretty big time, investments, over leveraged, all this stuff. And we went through the crash in 2008 and lost everything financially, along with a lot of other stuff happening. And that was, it didn't hurt as bad because unfortunately, like I lost my father right around that time. And so that pain like outweighed the financial loss. Like even talking about it, I'm like, oh, I lost everything financially. It's like, doesn't even scratch the surface. It's like, but that did really suck. Like losing my home, losing some investment properties and any money we had. And we were in real estate and that dried up at the time. So this is like, I didn't link them at the time, but when I look back, and I don't like to like label things trauma, like it's a disease, but whatever you want to call it, very painful experiences.
It's still trauma.
Yeah, it is trauma. And it happened. This was like, when I look back now, the same thing. Think of this, like, so you work to overcome something. It's interesting how this works. Like, because people have this similar rhythm in their lives. Like you have this trauma happen, or you see it happen to your family, and you're like, I'm not going to do that. And so you work diligently, sometimes to overcome or to like figure that out. And I was like, Brooke had my wife had a similar story in her family. So we got to this point, we're like ultra successful in our 20s. And we were like, oh, we got this. Like, that's the problem we won't have to deal with. Turned out we'd done a couple key things wrong. A couple foundational pieces just weren't right. And so like when the recession came, we just got our heads taken off, And my point is, when I look at the fact that I did become truly financially free at 42, however much or however little that means to someone listening, because I have all kinds of friends who their parents have plenty of money and like, it does not mean the same thing to them. But for me, it meant a lot. It meant that like when I see people in their 60s or 70s working jobs at minimum wage or whatever that they don't want, on bad knees as ushers, and you know what I mean? It's like, that's the reality of some of it. So it's great. And now I'm working harder than ever. I always wondered what I would do once I was financially free. Right. But my point is, if I'm honest, the trauma, to speak to what you're saying, Jake, what you guys are both talking about, like the trauma carried me kind of a long way. And I think when you guys, like Justin, I know that I feel like that relates to you too. Like a lot of us, you got to have at least some mix of trauma in there, but it's all the meaning we tie to it, right? Some people go through trauma and then they fold and they're like, forget capitalism or whatever, right? So it's like,
well, we talk a lot about the comeback kid, especially in the 30s, man. When most of these dudes we talk to are girls, it's in their 30s or even their early 40s where they make that dramatic comeback and just say, fuck you, look at me now. I went through it. I've been through a divorce. I lost my dad at an early age. I recovered from addiction. I lost a gym. I went bankrupt, but here I am now, 41 years old, and I got the opportunity of a lifetime from Justin doing something I love. And it all happened for a reason. It took a lot of that trauma. I wouldn't be ready. If this happened 6 years ago, I mentally wouldn't be prepared for it. I was still drinking, I was still being an asshole. I wasn't married to now my wife. So everything happened, all the trauma that led up in my 30s, the divorce, the addiction, coming off a horrible job, selling my gym, being bankrupt, it led me into this second life, and that's where I got the name from. And we're the fucking comeback kids, dude.
Love it.
That's exactly it. And the coolest thing about it is, and I think the one thing that people realize is like the people that actually realize this, and a lot of people don't, but here's a big difference. The people that have had the trauma and the people who've seen the worst, the people who have dealt with the bullshit and the stress and the divorce and the substance and all of those things, they either get used to it and they're just a speed bump that's used to getting run over by life and everybody that's involved in it, or it's the people that are like, fuck that, I'm not going to be that guy any longer. and you get so sick of losing that you have to start winning, and you get addicted to winning, and the thought of losing, like, I honestly could give a fuck if I lost everything. Well, yeah, it would suck. Like if I lost all my money and my business tanked, but like I'm so used and scarred from losing that it's like I know how to win again. And I know where to go from ground zero, and it's not that hard. And so many people make a mountain out of a molehill when it comes to where do I start? Where do I begin? Or like the whole entire time, the anxiety of how much work and how hard it is. And all these things start to happen to them that they fucking go straight possum and they lay down and they don't fucking ever try because they've built up these walls and all this like drama in their head from the shit that they've been through.
So true, dude.
And quite frankly, the saying more money, more problems or whatever, like the shit that they've been through isn't shit compared to what actually you deal with when you have some real responsibility, when you're signing checks to make sure that people's families can eat, when you have people relying on you to keep their lights on. That's where like you're wake, and you don't realize that's what it really is. It's your level of wake, will definitely have a massive determinant on the L that you take.
Yeah.
Straight up.
If I owned a coaching business, like that's one thing people need to realize is that if I'm going to get into coaching or mentoring, or I'm going to start to sell some sort of information, because at the end of the day, that's what we do. And that's the future of this economy, is selling information. That's how people are making billions and billions of dollars. You work for yourself and it's only you. You have no real wake. So if you want to get into e-commerce, or if you want to get into coaching, or you want to get into whatever, it's okay if you fail. You're not taking anybody down with you. Maybe a credit card company. Big whoop.
You're not taking them down.
No, they'll be okay. But you see what I'm getting at is like, it's like you got to realize that like the wake behind you is momentum in front. It will, be momentum ahead. Yeah. Yep. But when you do crumble, it crumbles much bigger, which is like, like I can't take any more L's. So I'm going to work around the clock. And I think that's, for me, it is. It's like that pain, the fear of pain, or whatever it is, the desire to not have any pain outweighs the desire of winning. But you have to kind of put yourself in that corner.
Yeah.
You got to put yourself up against a wall.
It's all that meaning we tie to it too. I was thinking, like Jake was saying, like all the stuff his story, what he's been through. And it's like, the thing is, I think of this all the time lately. It really does give you undeniably, which, by the way, the title of my book, which come out this year, we'll get to, Undeniable, but it does give you undeniably, like with you, Jake, it's like you go through those things. Yeah. Or for me, like I watch my family lose everything. Then I go through building it on my own, and then I lose everything. And then I'm like, I'm figuring this out. And then I get it right. Yeah. And it's like those concepts, dude, the power that it gives you. It's like the most successful people in the world sitting here. If they're sitting here right now, whoever, the Vanderbilts or whatever, the people that built this country, if they were sitting here right now, they wouldn't tell you about their successes. Absolutely. They would tell you about their failures and the things that they overcome and the things that were the making of them. I guarantee you. And I'm sitting here like, those things are way more interesting to me than the actual successes. Some of them are pretty cool and they're fun to share, because I like to let people know they're possible, because things like financial freedom, which I talk about all the time, people don't even think that's possible. People near me are like, well, that's cool, but I think that's a little advanced for some people. And it's like, no, that needs to be,
really not.
It needs to be planted at like 10 years old and be like a goal. So,
it's funny that you say that, because I started my book, and nice. It's like, I was thinking about how I wanted to do this, and what the way that I wanted to really struggle, like, or to really like structure the struggle, and structure how like I wanted it to lay out. And the title is called Affluent, Enabled, and Addicted: The Demons and the Privileged Without Consequences. Nice. So what it is it's like the last thing I wanted to write was another fucking self-help book. And the last thing I wanted to write was some like positivity fucking ridden book. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go the opposite direction. I'm going to write a fucking eye-opening self-awareness book full of negativity. Like there is no happy ending in this story. You know what I mean? Until the people who know my outcome.
Yeah.
Because the excuses, the chasing a high, the chasing instant gratification, the neglect, the resources, the bailouts. That's what some of these chapters are even called. And it's like not positive, because I'm like, this whole entire world is like, you got to be positive. You got to be positive. But it's like, it's not all positive.
Yeah.
And if you're living in a world of blowjobs and butterflies, you're going to get smacked hard.
Right. Not all the time. You can't be there all the time. Just, you know.
No, you need to keep a positive mindset, of course, but you can't be naive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. So yeah,
in the truth, right? Got to be in the truth is where your power lies. And it's like, you know, a lot of times we got to get out there and test the waters. Like quote my wife loves, we've definitely lived by at points. It's like only those who have gone too far can possibly know how far one can go, right? And that's real. I mean, there's a reason that special ops, Navy SEALs, that, you know, they drown those guys and, you know, resuscitate them and everything. But there's a reason that is happening, or that it's very common, you know, that's happening. It's like, you got to really push on those boundaries if you really want to know where they are, you know?
Oh yeah. Well, just look at drug addicts, you know, and look at anything like, like, you want to know how far you can go? Yeah. Try Narcan. I mean, like, you want to know how far it can get, you know, sleep under a bridge, you know, for a year. And it's like, but you don't realize that the level of commitment and the level of, like, you know, it is like, I'm not comparing a Navy SEAL to a drug addict at all, but it is like understanding like how far you can take your body in a certain direction. Absolutely. To be able to know that the level of commitment that it takes to take your body that certain direction, that as soon as you flip that commitment, you mean what the body can do and what the mind can do is incredible. So let's talk about Undeniable.
Yes, sir. Oh
my God. So I'm stoked on this. And I just the way that, you know, our conversations go and stuff like that. I mean, I can only imagine this is exciting.
Yeah, me too. And you know, I got a print of the first 150 pages right over here. Just because
I was just going to say, when did you write this book? Like, how did this all start, Kasey?
Well, so it was, let's see, just several months back, and we were at a place, we bought a home down in Palm Springs back in, I think it was October of last year, early October, and so we've been down there a bit. Spent December down there, and I think it was down there that I started writing. And what's crazy is it just it like literally writes itself. It's just it's just kind of like my story and things that I've learned, I guess, is how I would describe it. But it's just, I don't know how many people will read it. You know, and I'm biased, but it's like, it just kind of writes itself, and it's really came together very quickly. Now it's just like an editing process, but it just has been really a trip to see it happen. And it just kind of came to this place where I realized that I had a lot to share and maybe interesting enough of a story for people to listen. And so, I'm really excited.
That's awesome. Did you hire a writing coach for this, or did you just go off, like, just started putting stuff to paper?
I just did it. Yeah. I just did it. I got a bit of an outline, I guess, I needed kind of some structure, you know? So I just created structure as far as like chapters and topics and kind of just went into it. And the way that I wrote it was, you know, and I really don't know a lot about like the formal processes around writing, or anything or any of that. Well, no, that's not true. Let me back up. I went to high school and everything else, and I got a degree, a 4-year degree. So when you look at like 16 years of school, like we all should kind of know how to write. I mean, you know, like with that type of school. So when I think about it, it's like I've been writing my whole life in that sense. And then the other thing was, to answer your question, Jake, with regards to like, you know, doing Instagram, all this stuff on social media for the last year, 2 years or so, you know, putting a lot of stories out there and reels and all that kind of stuff, just a lot of content and a lot of good messages, you know, trying to really share high value stuff there on like my Instagram. It's like, I've been writing so much anyway. And, the thing about a book is that a book has more of a staying power than like a post that really, there's, as you guys know better than I do, there's like a life. I mean, you guys have incredible traction, but it's like just in general, the staying power of like a reel or a post is a little bit different than like a book. Yeah. And so, it's a pretty awesome experience just to do it too, just like for yourself, let alone if there's any success or, or anything behind it, but it's
well, yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
You never know. Have you ever heard of Reedsy? I was turned on to this by another coach, Paul Burns. Yeah, it's where authors meet the best editors, designers, and marketers. So I'll put you onto this. Awesome. But it's pretty cool for like publishing and editing and stuff like that. And he sent me a really cool style of outlining and the way that he was taught by his coach on how to outline. I'll send you this as well.
I love it.
It's pretty cool because I went at it like you, like I'm a good writer. I think I am. And I write, my writing style is pretty arrogant. I'm not going to lie.
Love it.
But and like brutal, like I write very brutal. And obviously I swear I write the way I talk, just with less stuttering. But, and less ums. But anyways, I don't know. I didn't really, when I got into it and I got through like, like my prologue and stuff like that. And I, I started outlining, I was like, fuck, like this could really get away from me quick.
Yeah.
And I'm the guy that'll play like the heaviest death metal you've ever heard in your life and just like sit and just just start typing.
Hey, so you're probably like, you're doing it. So I don't know how far you are into it. And I always say like, listen to people that have results. So I'm not a published author or like any kind of successful author. You probably like write better than me, but I just got to tell you one thing that for me helped me to approach it myself is one of the ways I started, which is kind of like you're saying, like an outline, was just the concept of getting chapters that sounded really good to me, which is like, it sounds like kind of like part of how you did your process, but just being like really having a list of chapters that when I read that list of chapters, I was like, it made sense to me. To me, I was like, whoa, just things that really grab you and that spoke to you and that highlight aspects of your story. For some reason, that particular aspect of, I guess, the outlining process or whatever, but just those chapters, super simple, because if you pick kind of like picking the right ones, then as you go to them, they'll almost write themselves. And also if you have those framed out, you can just jump around through the book as you're inspired. So you don't have to like reading the Bible. People talk about like from page 1 to the end of reading it. And it's like, I mean, you can do it that way, but there's a lot to be said for studying like the Bible, let's say, in different ways than just going from the beginning to the end. Right. And so I think a book can be, written. I don't know if any of that's helpful.
It is. It is. And that's kind of how I was thinking, because that's what I started doing. I started like, I usually do my best thinking after a training session in the shower. And when I'm in the shower is like when I'll start to start to put the pieces together. And then when I get ready, I'll just jump down and I'll write everything down. I keep my notebook right here and I'll just like write down like my ideas. And it's like, it looks like chicken scratch all over a page. But then when I can sit at my computer and like have a moment to like put on some music and just start typing my thoughts out, it works out really well. But anyways,
hold on. This is kind of cool because I know I'm not writing a book, whatever, but I am in the process of writing an album. So I am doing some lyrics for an upcoming album for a new project I have. So this is all money, exactly like, Justin just said, just scribbling, and same with you, like finding that story. So my writing process is almost like a story where I'm not just singing about just nonsense. It has meaningful impact, like things that have happened, the trauma in my life, where I'm at now. And now is the best time ever, going back to what we were speaking of, where I am in my life. Now these lyrics are just kind of falling out. They're just like basically like puking out of me, dude, which is nice because I've never was like that. It was always about partying or, the girls or this and being tough and all this shit when I was in a hardcore band in my 20s. And now being a 42-year-old man, father, with the things I've been through, now it's really like, oh shit, pen to paper. Like I got to write some good stuff here. And I don't want just just words. I need a meaningful story. So from start to finish, it'll almost be like one book by the time I'm done with this. So it's kind of cool that you guys both are kind of in the process of writing a book. So
love it.
Yeah, it's cool.
I think too, if you have like an ideal, like, theme behind it. And that's what I've really loved about albums. Like my favorite album of 2023 was Pain Remains by Lorna Shore.
Okay.
And that whole album, and Jake, I don't know if you listen to metal, Kasey, but Jake, if you've listened to that album like and read into it, because obviously you can't understand the lyrics,
Yeah.
but it's heavy. It's the heaviest album of 2023.
Absolutely.
But like the whole thing is a story, and it's of a story actually of well, the last 3 tracks, Pain Remains 1, 2, and 3, they all flow together, and it's like probably 18 minutes of songs. And the whole story is of a man who grows old with his wife, loses his wife to cancer, gets cancer, and then obviously passes away himself to meet his wife, wherever they're supposed to be, whether it's heaven or whatever, in their afterlife. And they have the videos that go along with it, and it's like it's really cool how it paints a whole entire picture. But if you listen to the rest of the album, there's like this lead up to like the actual tracks, Pain Remains, which is the self-entitled ones. Either way, it's not a surprise too that album hit the scene. Like Lorna Shore was always a pretty big metal band, not crazy big, and then that album dropped, and it was like, holy shit! Like where did these guys come from?
Isn't Will Ramos? Isn't he a pretty intelligent dude? He's pretty.
It's weird. You wouldn't think so. Like I've met him a couple times, and he's like a kid. He's like a young kid. He's like he's like maybe 130 pounds. Yeah. And you would think like the way he sings, he'd be like a anyways, I don't want to get too far. But we can have a whole separate one where we talk about metal albums. But Lorna Shore, Pain Remains is the album of the year for 2023. So I mean, going back to like some of that trauma. Now you've been through some like life or death situations too.
I have, yeah. I one of the earlier, so actually more than a few, but one that really stands out was took place not too far from where you are, Justin. I'm sure it was the other end of town, but it was really just more circumstantial. Put myself in a situation where I almost lost my life. I was shot at repeatedly and somehow not hit. I was actually shot at very close range, and there was two individuals that were a lot larger than me, and it was just it was a very surreal experience. It's probably, it's interesting when you look back in your life. We all have different beliefs and kind of points of becoming aware of different things, but it's when I look back at certain just outright miracles, it's like the scene at the end of Pulp Fiction, right? One of the guys takes it as like divine intervention or whatever he calls it.
Yeah.
And the other guy's like, hey, we got lucky, whatever happened. I was a lot closer than they were when basically that same situation happened. And so, and like I said, sometimes I'm a slow learner, so it takes a little bit, but I do learn eventually. And so that was, that's one that really stands out. But when things do happen, this is something that I took from that, is that things in this life do happen. Like you could be anywhere and be totally innocent, and something really bad can happen to you. And those things, as we know, unfortunately do take place. But a big thing in this life is just controlling the probability. It's really all you can do. It's like one of my friends is a professional trader, like day trading. And really the guys that do that truly professionally, over time, what they're doing is putting probability in their favor, because there's ways to actually measure the probability of certain things. And that's what we're doing, whether it's, using your heart for intuition or your mind for reason. We're doing whatever we can to put probability in our favor, right? Of avoiding pain or, achieving pleasure, whatever it is. But that's all that we can do in this life. However certain you think you are, you're just saying that you think there's a really high probability, right? And that's all that we can do. So,
right.
Sometimes, right?
I think a lot of the times people have things that happen to them that are, and like you said, like sometimes you can't control what happens to you, but you can definitely make decisions in your day to day to have a pretty good, to determine sort of how things are going to go in your life, right? And it's like, for like myself, like so I'm a big, you guys know this, but I'm a huge guy, and I'm kind of a walking injury. Like I can hurt myself very easily, So I've like made it I used to run up and down stairs, and, and I'm like, and I had like one scare where I slipped and I thought I tore my knee, and I was like, okay, from now on, and this is like small scale shit, right? But it's like, from now on, I'm going to take it easy on stairs. I hear about people getting in car accidents. Now I am just as likely to get in a car accident as anybody else. But I work from home and I pretty much just go to the gym that's a block away from me and back. I don't go places like that. And if I do go places, I'm professionally driven in a big ass SUV. Like I'm not like I'm gonna control my probability
I love it.
as best as I can. Now, does that mean shit's not gonna happen to me? No, but throughout my life, I can tell you that every bit of trauma, whether it was an accident or not, I did something in the course to put myself in that situation.
Yeah, help it along. Yeah.
I remember my dad used to always say to me, and I would get in trouble in school, and I didn't actually do anything, but it was something that like my friends did, or like my name got brought into. And maybe I did do the thing, but I wasn't actually, there was no way to prove it. But my dad would lose it on me, and he would be like, it's just the fact that your name got brought up.
Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Right. And it was like, why are you even in that situation?
Yeah.
And I my entire life of being a drug addict and an alcoholic and fucking things up and screwing up relationships and all of it. It's like now in my later years, which is I'm 37. But where I'm at now, where I see clearly, it's like I have so much control over my probability. So when I hear people that are constantly fucking up and constantly failing to get ahead, failing to launch, failing to do whatever, it's like, dog, this shit doesn't have to be that hard.
Hey, isn't it counterintuitive though? Some things in life have such a counterintuitive or ironic nature, because think about this. Virtually the only reason any of the three of us can do what we do in the coaching space or influencing people in any way or helping people, right? The only reason really, or the biggest reason, is because of the ways that we messed things up at certain point. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I guarantee that there's points for sure that people would look at any of us and be like, there's no way. They wouldn't even conceptualize that you would possibly be helping people in the future, and ironically, that's how you're able to help people. And I think that's just such a powerful thing for us to show people that, it's like in the problem, it's like, that's where the solution lies, where it's always darkest before dawn. And, it's a trip because the concept of faith, of just having faith in yourself, faith in something greater than yourself, or that it's just going to be okay. It's like some people do, right? Like you're talking, Justin, about the meaning that people tie to things. And it's like some people do tie an empowering meaning to something and some people don't. It's like I remember hearing the story of two brothers that were raised by a father who was a bank robber, and like a professional bank robber. And he was eventually caught and sent away for a long time. And there was no, I don't know, the mom wasn't around. And so the two brothers were separated, went to live in completely separate areas, separate households, and grew up independent of each other. And there was, I don't remember the details, but there was some therapist or social worker or someone who somehow reconnected with both of them or stayed connected. And they, later in life, one of them went to prison for like 20 years for robbing banks or whatever it was for a long time. And the other one became like a really successful, some type of professional position that was like, a leader and did all these great things. And when they were independently asked why they became whatever they became, they both gave the same answer. Well, like, because my father, you see what my father was, what he did, how could I not become what I became, right? And so one of them became a bank robber, one of them robber, and one of them, went the other direction. And that's just the truth, right? Because, and I don't know, some people would say that's luck, but again, we do things. It's like we put luck, we kind of control luck to a certain degree, because just if nothing else, putting that probability in our favor. But what is it that gives one person the faith to go through the darkness that any of you guys have been through, and then turn it into light, turn it into something positive? Because we both know personally people that went through similar or the same type of situations and just did, and are still there or not around anymore, or just, let's just say they're not coaching. And so what is it, what is it that makes that difference?
So it's crazy you brought that up, man, because I don't know if it's once I turned 40 that some shit really finally shifted in my brain. But I looked back at my 20 years. I was a touring musician at the age of 19. Straight out of high school, I joined a band, and it became very successful. We toured the world, 18 countries, 49 states. I mean, we did it. We were at the top of our peak, played the biggest festivals. I played in front of 60,000 people, record label, and I took it for granted. I didn't treat it as a business. We fucked around. What else do you do when you're 21? You've seen New York 4 times. So for me, we split up. I ended up going to culinary school, became a great chef. I worked at a 5-star restaurant. To me, I'm successful again. Got into nutrition and fitness, became a certified personal trainer, And then I owned my own gym, ran my own business, very successful with that, went through the divorce. And, I keep looking back at the things I took for granted over that course of 20 years. And I think when I was turning 40, I was getting married for a second time. I was doing my first men's physique competition, coaching online. I was home with my kids. And it really was like what I did with the last 20 years. And I had to snap and say, what am I going to do with the next 20 years? And how am I going to treat these years coming up? And I think that's really when my focus started becoming, that's when I stopped drinking alcohol. I mean, I was minimizing it, since May. I've been sober now. But that's really when it was like, cool, I got another shot. I'm do the men's physique. I'm in the best shape of my life at 40 years old. I'm getting married in Hawaii to, my amazing wife. And so that's how I always looked at it now. I mean, although we can't prevent trauma or things that can happen, but like you guys said, we can sure as hell do our best to fix those problems and know what caused us the trauma in the past from that. So so my whole philosophy has been, what am I doing now? And how many people can I help, and how my message, and now becoming a mentor and a leader, and Justin giving me this opportunity. So that's how I look at my life now, is what am I going to do the next 20 years? So
I love it. And the thing is, it's like, this is the thing, Jake, because it's just what you said made me think of this. It's like that concept that every problem carries with it the seed of an equal or greater opportunity. Because it's cool sounding, but you really think about that, like that if you believe that, because it's a universal law. So every problem, which means someone you love dies. That's a tough one, right? That's a tough one. You're like, there's no way. And that there's an opportunity here. I don't want any part of it, right? But it's like, there's always an empowered meaning. There's always a way to help. How about this, right? Like, we don't have to take a silver lining when your friend dies. How about this? Like, there's a way to help people around you. There's a way that like light is going to shine through the cracks and whatever it is that's happening. And it's like, the depth of your struggle determines the height of your success. That's what it is, but it's like, that's the reality. And it's like that every problem is carrying the seed of an equal or greater than that problem opportunity. And that's turning dark to light. And that's real. And once you fathom that, it's like just instilling that mindset, helping clients to cultivate that belief within themselves, because we all know it's real. So
yeah. No, 100%. That's, we wake up every day. I wake up every morning and say, if I could just help one person, I say it all the time after time. If I could just help one person today, even if that's my wife, my kids, but I live for other people. You know what I mean? I'm there to help people become the best versions of themselves. And it all starts with me, If I wasn't in that spot, I couldn't do that shit for anybody else. So,
amen.
Yeah.
So blessed, dude, to do what we do. We're seriously so blessed.
Yeah, this is the best fucking job in the world, guys.
Yeah.
This is the best fucking job in the world.
And there's people close to all of us that think we're completely insane or just dumb for doing what we do. And we'll never conceptualize people that you love, people that I love, people that I care about, friends, family, whatever, that like, I don't know. And sometimes I think the concept of being like, if you want to call it like, just as a human, whatever, like, but like being awake, having an awakening, or like being called or chosen. A lot of that is just like, it has to do with your it's like seek and you'll find, knock and doors are open, ask and it's answered. But like it's because it's like, what doors are you knocking on? What questions are you asking? Like, what are you seeking? Right. It's not just like, it's like when people say enjoy the journey or it's all about the process for sure. Right. Or 100%. Enjoy the journey. Absolutely. Cause like you were saying the other night, Justin, that's all there is the journey. The thing is, enjoy the process and enjoy the journey that takes you where you want to go. It's like always the fine print, right? Like I have clients in real estate, they like, or you see this all the time with like, every once in a while with clients where they're like, oh, I guess it's just not God's will. And it's like, dude, you don't offer half what the price of the price, or like do something really dumb and go, oh, it's not God's will. Like if you want to see what God's will is, or you want to say that that's a factor, then I believe we have to move forward in like absolutely doing our best or doing our part of what we're supposed to do. And that is at least going to like, give us the best chances of like the universe or God, if you will, meeting us. Cause it's like God says, move towards me and I'll move towards you. And so again, like, the universe, whatever you want to call it, but that's reality. Right. And so you're talking about forces a lot larger than us.
Is it funny to you that people always will say that it's not in God's plan when it's an adverse reaction to what they wanted? Like what if something good happened to you that wasn't in God's plan? Like you're implying that it's
well, Kasey, that's why, like, dude, I love what I get to do every day, and that's the branding and marketing department of JWX, because something Steve and I have been doing lately, well, for a while now, is when these coaches come on and they don't really have that vision, like we make them like, what is your mission statement? What are your core values? What is your brand story? What is your vision? Where do you see yourself? And, we always say fuck goals around here, but we help them put those systems into place and visualize what it is they fucking truly want from this brand. We're like, this is your you are the CEO of this. Where do you see yourself? Some people just say a couple modern things and we're like, think bigger, so yeah. I think the power in what Steve and I get to do every day is help build these brands. And we don't just say build brands, breed success. I mean, we fucking implement that. We make them write that shit down and we're like, get back to us. And as soon as we do that, we stamp their logo that Steve badassly makes. You know what I mean? We make those, they're not just ads. It is the canvas and I hate sounding so cliche, but those ads and those concepts and those templates, that is their fucking brand. You know what I mean? Like, go fucking run it, dude. So it's a beautiful thing, dude. It's a beautiful thing.
I think a lot of people like have a big image in their head, but then when they actually are challenged on it, they buckle. And it's because, they're, again, the fear kicks in. And it's like, well, and then they can't get this. They're indecisive. They start getting in the stinking thinking, analysis paralysis, whatever you want to call it.
It's all excuses because let's face it, everyone wants to be a gangster until it's time to do gangster shit, right?
It's a failure to fucking launch, dude, because they get in their own head. So
I love that.
Everyone wants to come to the party. No one wants to stay and clean up.
You know what I mean?
I like these.
He's back to back. He's back to back.
Everyone wants to be a gangster until it's time to do gangster shit.
Slapping some fucking Joe Pesci on. Is that Joe Pesci or Robert De Niro in Goodfellas, man?
Hey, what's funny? We were watching Goodfellas was on like last night. We caught like the tail end or middle of it. Such a good movie. It's classic too. Dude, so good. My wife is like, it's just classic, right? It's like, I go out the other night. We were on our call the other night and with JWX, right? And I leave or actually got disconnected or whatever. And I go to hang out with my wife finally. And she's watching like the thing where they meet people. It's like couples, but they meet through a wall and they get like engaged through a wall. And then after they get engaged, they meet in person. I don't know. So I went out and I watched it and there was this couple that was meeting and I guess they both weren't stoked, but all I could tell at the moment was the dude wasn't stoked and she seemed bummed. And I was like, I've been doing so much hard stuff, help people through like gnarly, almost like counseling throughout the day and just doing so many different things. And then I go out there for like 5 minutes and I was like, I can't even hang with this. You know what I mean? But then it's like, no problem.
My wife watches that show too. Yeah, it's fun. I thought we were still talking about Goodfellas. I was going to say, you guys
I know I was like, where are we going with Goodfellas with this?
You know what? I really didn't like Ray Liotta.
Liotta.
And he's dead now, right?
Yeah.
Liotta.
He passed.
Yeah. He passed.
Is he gone?
Yeah,
that was his best. That was his best role, hands down. I mean,
so good. But you know what? I like him in Goodfellas just fine. Not my favorite mob gangster movie, but Casino is actually.
Casino's up there. Yeah.
Great one.
Bronx.
But
you like him in what?
Oh, I just watched one with basically he plays a gangster like always. But what's the guy? He's a great actor.
Hey, while you're thinking of it, check it out. Hey, so Jake, Goodfellas, I was going to segue into. So like, the idea is like the wife is like not as into the violence. I'm not into that much. I don't like to watch a lot of violence, but like, guns, shoot, whatever. I don't mind too much. And so she's like not as into that, but has no problem watching like, the drama and chicks getting their hearts ripped out and all this. Then I'm like, oh gosh, this is so hard. But then Goodfellas comes on, right? And like, they're stabbing the guy in the back, like in the trunk or whatever.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty funny. He's borrowing the knife from his mom. It's like, it's so good.
Yep.
And so she's like, oh, this is so bad. But then at points she's like, this is such a good movie. And she's like, this is like one of my favorite of these type of movies. But then, it's brutal also. So, it's kind of a love-hate thing. And, this is good. It's good for couples. We learn to like explore these different things we never.
It might be family movie night tonight. Goodfellas. My 9 and 10-year-old daughter. Hey guys, we're gonna watch some history. I would have taken you as a jitsu dude. I mean, that's like kind of the only. I mean, skydiving and jitsu is the only thing I probably don't see in your portfolio or resume. Have you ever gotten any kind of? I know you're
jiu-jitsu.
Like,
is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. I did. I did it for a few years. Got the blue belt.
Okay, so you did do. You were a practitioner.
Yeah, I never,
Okay.
I just didn't ever go real consistently. You know what's crazy though? My neighbors, the coolest family. They're so cool, and they're like 2 or 3 of them are like black belts, and they're like friend that lives next door. So, and they have this killer gym, and they're always like, yeah, whenever. So like, actually, it's funny, and I do once in a while, but pretty like irregularly or not very often. Not as consistently as I should, especially for the skill level that I could have available to me. I'm a boxer though. I was never like competitive
Sure,
or
Golden
in
Gloves or
competitions,
whatever.
but I boxed a lot
And you're up in
unofficially and
are you
trained
up
a
in
lot and stuff.
You're up in Santa Cruz, right?
Santa Cruz, yeah.
Yeah, dude, I love it up there, man.
Where are you
I
at,
just love
Jake?
that drive. I've been up there a few times. It's
Where
been
are you?
years. I'm in Corona. I'm in Southern California.
Oh, you are? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was born and raised there in Laguna Beach.
Okay, yeah.
Like right there, yeah. So like between you guys or right by you guys, actually.
Yeah. I was born in Riverside, but I'm Corona now, so
Right
but slowly making my way to HB if I could talk my wife into it.
Yeah. Love it.
So, anyways, I can't remember the name of this movie. I'm looking.
He's
up
still
right now,
trying to
but
find it over there.
yeah, I know. It's him and
okay,
Michael. It's him and Michael Shannon, and I love Michael Shannon. Michael Shannon's probably one of my favorite actors.
See, we need the producer Steve to fill in now. This is where Steve comes in and tells us what movie it is.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Oh, you want to know something? Actually, speaking of Michael Shannon, that I saw a movie that I saw recently, Kasey, about real estate. It was called 99 Homes. Have you seen that?
I haven't.
Is it many?
It's on Netflix. It's on Netflix. It's basically about a guy who buys stuff from Fannie Mae or whatever, buys homes all over Florida, and he like tries to clear out neighborhoods and stuff, and he's kind of a slime ball, and he'll like have like he'll boot people out of their homes, and then he'll have his guys come in and like steal the water heater, and the air conditioner.
He's just a dirty hustler, huh?
Yeah, but
Justin,
it's a really good movie.
Is it The Many Saints of Newark?
No, that's not it. But
and not Copland.
Hey, so you guys
it's not Copland.
Hey, so there was 99. I was thinking I definitely haven't seen that one. But check it out. The Big Short. You guys no, not The Big Short. Damn it, what's it called? Now I'm gonna do it. Damn it, it's contagious, Justin. Now I'm doing it.
Yeah.
This is what happens. Just wait till you're 40. Jake and I know. You're not gonna remember shit.
Yeah.
Hey, what's the one with the crap? Wall Street. Hey, so the original Wall Street, not Wolf of Wall Street. The original Wall Street, which was Michael Douglas. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Okay, so part 2, Wall Street 2, whatever. Money Never Sleeps. That movie. All right.
Okay.
It's just about the crash, the 2008 Great Recession, and like how the banks and the bailout and how how big of a deal it was. And so that was on the other night. And it was actually, it's a pretty good movie, and like we kind of enjoyed watching it. But we watched it when we were first moving back from Panama after losing everything in the crash, like 2011 or something. And it was just too fresh. Like the movie was not enjoyable at all. Like we were like kind of trying to be amused, but it was just like we were hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. I mean, honestly, it was like 400, and we never did like the bankruptcy, like where you discharge it. So we foreclosed or short sold houses that we had. We ended up hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, and our credit was so bad. Plus, we had been living out of the country for 2 years, so we had no like job history to qualify for anything anyway, for like a loan or anything. And our credit was so bad from all that, I couldn't even get like a Verizon phone in my name. And so like that's to the point that we actually like had gone to, and then to go from there and then be like 10 or 12 years later totally financially free just gives you a different perspective on life. It's like people who have never been that low or that high are not going to have an appreciation for
Sure.
Sometimes your story is your gift though, right, Jake?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm where I am now, dude. I mean, without those stories, I wouldn't have shit, And I say, just like looking back on those 20 years, I don't regret anything. I mean, those experiences I'll never get back. There's times where I'm like, fuck, I should have went to college after high school. But then, my stepdad's one of the biggest, man. He was so successful doing what he loved. And every time he told me, he's like, just go for it. Just fucking go for it, Jake. And I just remember, man, and anything I put that effort into always seems to work out. So, I mean? I got a little bit of late start, being a rock star for a while, but without those experiences, man, I definitely wouldn't be where I was.
Dude, what a legendary experience for you. Yeah. Unreal that you did that. Like,
it was like another life, man. So, but
the movie's called The Iceman.
Yeah.
The Iceman. 2012 it came out. I watched it the other night. It's so good, but and it's got, listen to the cast. So it's got Michael Shannon, Ray Liotta, James Franco, Winona Ryder, Chris Evans, Dave Schwimmer's in it, and a bunch of other people. But
All right.
Iceman.
I'm taking notes, dude. 99
Iceman.
I'm typing it in. We're watching this family night
Iceman.
tonight.
Anyways.
Iceman. Okay.
All right. Love it.
All right. So, Kasey, if I'm looking for a coach and I want to find somebody like you, where do I find you?
My Instagram, Hinchman Kasey, and KaseyHinchman.com. Great places to find me.
Perfect. Awesome.
Beautiful website. Beautiful.
Bro, this was fun. I had a good time. We kind of trailed off there at the end, but it was so worth it.
That was awesome. It was awesome. I love it. Let's do it again. And anyone, absolutely reach out to me on Instagram because we'll get you results. I'm so stoked to be at JWX, you guys. I really appreciate the opportunity, and it's just so exciting for stuff we're gonna be doing here. It's just I keep being blown away at what you're rolling out. So
thank you. We're gonna keep doing it every single week after week. It seems like there's more new stuff. So we're we work around the clock for you guys, and yeah, dude, this was great. So hey, listen, guys, if you guys like what you hear, you like what you see, make sure you click the subscribe, make sure you like, comment, do all the good stuff that helps us get out there in the algorithm. We really appreciate you guys for listening in. We'll catch you next time. Deuces. All right, guys, that wraps up an episode of the Wolves Only podcast powered by JWFIT. Listen, if you guys like what you heard, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like and comment, help us get our message out there. If you want to work with our team, go ahead and click the link in the description below. Schedule a call with us. We'd love to get you on. We really appreciate you guys listening. And if you have any other questions, you can reach out to us on all forms of social media. Thank you so much.